There, and welcome to episode 2 of Let's Be Real, a social commentary. So today we're going to be talking about the healthcare system. Due to my recent stay at the hospital, I had gotten food poisoning from some tainted food, and that caused a flare-up of my Crohn's and bacterial infection in my intestinal tract, and it almost went septic and I almost died. I was admitted to hospital, rushed by ambulance when I knew something was wrong, and my stay there was less than good. A lot of mishandling of the situation and mishandling of me. It turned into a shit show with a lot of half answers and no communication. Now we're gonna explore this a little bit further about how exactly what is wrong with our healthcare system. It's gotten to the point where, our healthcare system was really good at one time, but now it's like Canada, free healthcare, you get what you pay for, and it's kind of a joke. Canada still evolving into a very terrible place to live right now, with housing costs and grocery prices, and it's beyond most people's means. It's beyond my means. And it's really just, and in the healthcare system now going, it's, there's really not much going for it now at this point, not even including into the lack of free speech that is no longer really a thing, because we get censored what we can put on social media and whatnot. And we don't really have that freedom rights to say what we want without somebody checking it first, which is really disappointing that, we kind of gave up our rights around COVID and nobody noticed. Most people didn't anyways. And ever since then, it's just been a whirlwind of shit and pain and suffering that we have to endure because of all of this and the backlash that came from COVID-19. Now, to get very specific into my story, I was originally admitted into the emergency room. That night, I waited about only 2 hours, roughly, to actually see a doctor. I was in excruciating pain, the worst pain I've ever been in my life. I did not know my body was shutting down at that time, but it was, I can't even put into words how painful it was, but it felt like I was dying. I was certain I was going to die at that time. It was so incredibly painful. My entire stomach and digestive tract was just gut-wrenching pain. It felt like my insides were liquefying. It was an experience. So I went there screaming, not just basically screaming in pain, not being able to stop screaming in pain. Now, I was admitted through emergency services, and I was eventually seen by a doctor, and they treated me. At that point, I had been sick already for 3 days. 3 days with no food, pretty much no water, because I was just voiding my body non-stop for those 3 days. And I'm not able to keep anything down, or not even able to eat. I was very weak, and almost I wasn't able to think clearly because of how bad it was for those 3 days. It really took a lot out of me. I was really mentally, physically exhausted. I couldn't sleep, and I was not. It didn't seem like I was absorbing food or water. Just kept getting hungrier, and thirstier, and the inflammation was so bad that that was why I wasn't absorbing anything. And so that's happened once before when I was originally diagnosed with we thought it was colitis at the time, but the testing that they did at the hospital, they realized it was actually Crohn's. I was really sick like that before, and I was dying of malnutrition because my body wasn't absorbing food or water. And I felt the same way this time. It was that same kind of feeling of, putting water in my mouth, but it's not going down. And it's every time I took even a sip of water, even though I had some ice chips in my mouth, it set off my stomach, and it would just feel like a gut-wrenching pain of tearing and ripping, and so I couldn't eat it. So They put me in a room, a little side room with a curtain, and then I had trouble making it to the bathroom because I couldn't stop going to the bathroom still. So they brought me a chair, and I was forced to do it in there, which was kind of humiliating. I don't know, it made me just feel kind of weird and dehumanized in a way, because I don't know, it just felt like it was like taking my dignity away, kind of thing. But they made me do it there. The doctor did give me an IV, did give me pain relief, and they would, anytime that pain relief wore off, they make sure I would have more pain relief. So I got comfortable eventually within the first little bit, and then they maintained it for so many hours until the morning night crew switched over, and that's when everything changed. So at that point I was comfortable, not in gut-wrenching pain. I know it was just the pain reliever, whatever they were giving me, that was helping with that, but eventually it wore off, and then the pain came rushing back, and then it was the new crew, because they just get passed down notes from the previous doctors. They could only give me any medication every 6 hours. Well, unfortunately, the medication was only working for about 2 hours. So for 4 hours, I had to literally scream almost at the top of my lungs, clenching my stomach in the worst freaking pain imaginable, rolling back and forth on the bed, and then voiding myself nonstop every so many minutes. And they just let me basically sit like that for almost an entire day before I was even I was admitted to the hospital soon around that time in the morning, and then I was part of the GI part of the hospital. GI doctors had to deal with me. Emergency services no longer responsible for me, so they basically just ignored me and pretended like I wasn't there, no matter what I did. I complained to the nurse, and they said, well, we have to run everything through the GI part of the hospital. We have to call up to them, and then they message us back and they approve whatever. And they were never messaging them back, though. The nurses said that they contacted them. They were waiting for a response. Nothing would freaking be happening. I'm nonstop going to the bathroom and screaming at like bloody murder, like someone's murdering me every single time I do, because it's so incredibly painful. And also in gut-wrenching pain. And they let me stay for almost a whole day of just waiting for a room, and that's how they let me sit. I remember crying and screaming, and I'm like, I need somebody to help me. Why won't anybody help me? And people would just walk by and completely ignore me the whole time I was there, like I wasn't even a person, like I wasn't even existing at that time. Including 2 nurses that were just having a private conversation literally at the other side of the curtain as I'm screaming for help, and why won't anybody help me? And they're having a private conversation about the weekend and laughing and joking around like that. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is the healthcare you get? I felt less than a person. I felt ignored, invisible, overlooked. I thought I was gonna die 100%. And the pain was so much to bear that I almost made a noose out of a blanket, because at that point I thought I was gonna die. I thought no one gave a fucking flying fuck there if I did or did not, pardon my language. And I didn't give a shit. I couldn't handle the pain anymore. It was so intense that I was pretty much almost decided I was gonna do it. I kept looking at it. I'm just like, I can just make all this stop right now. And if it wasn't for somebody coming to visit me and walking in right at that exact moment, possibly be a different story. But God's way, God's will, clearly. So I'm thankful for that, because I'm glad I didn't do it. But honestly, the pain was so incredibly unimaginable. I was not thinking clearly. I couldn't stand being in that pain anymore. And then the new GI doctors, they didn't want to give me any pain relief. They're like, oh, it could make Crohn's better or worse. It could do this. It could. And I'm like, hearing a lot of coulds and possibilities, but what's the option here is just to let me suffer. So I'm just going to have to suffer. And well, yeah, they basically just let me fucking suffer. They let me sit there, scream and cry nonstop. and just void myself constantly and just suffer. And I when I asked, can I at least have something to put me to sleep so I can at least sleep through the pain, they wouldn't give me anything for that either. I was very, very disappointed. I was very upset. And then they moved me upstairs to the room. I'm like, finally, finally going to get some care. No, they want to do a colonoscopy. So they want me to spend the entire night voiding myself after having done it for, at that point, 4 days straight. My body cannot handle it anymore. I am in most gut-wrenching pain of my entire incredible life. And they want me to go through more, basically more, and they don't want to give me any pain relief. And I'm like, fucking Florida. I'm like, no, I'm like, my body can't handle it. I'm telling you, my body can't handle it. I can't handle doing this anymore. I'm in too much pain. And they're like, oh, well, we'll just have to wait a day and then do it anyway. And I'm like, oh, well, fuck, if I get no choice in this, like I said, I want pain relief. No, we're not giving you pain relief. Oh, no, you gotta just fucking, no sleep, still no food, still no water, still no IV. Other than when I originally was admitted into emergency services, they are letting me just sit there and waste away. I'm like shedding weight, like as the hours go on, and literally so incredibly weak and sore, and they just keep pricking me and with freaking things and taking blood, and I'm just making it worse. And I just feel like I'm in a fucking nightmare that won't end. And they make me against my will do prep for the colonoscopy, and I have one movement, and honestly I screamed so much and cried so much through that first time. I said, no, let me fucking die. I will not do any more of this. I'm in too much pain. It wasn't until that point where they actually gave me some morphine for the pain, and I was able to make it through the rest of it. But it shouldn't have to have been such a fight for it. I didn't see the point. And for one, keeping me in pain. For two, keeping me awake to feel the pain. And for three, not giving me food or water or IV or anything that my body needed at the time, and just letting me almost for 2 days straight, just sit there and suffer and be in pain. The most imaginable pain. My body was shutting down. I was fucking dying. And I still don't understand to this day why that was all necessary for me to go through. And it's like, they wouldn't communicate anything with me. They wouldn't give me straight up answers. It was just a lot of, maybe, possibly, I don't know. Like, they took tests. Excuse me. They took a lot of, they had to do a biopsy. And it wasn't until the day of I got released from the hospital, which was over a week later, that they found out that it was food poisoning. And you know, when I went in there, they said that there was no sign of infection when I first got admitted to the emergency room. But then I said that I had a really, really super bad infection. Within 24 hours, it was super bad and super dangerous. And so I don't know what the hell happened there, but that's a lot of miscommunication. And you're telling me 1 minute I don't have that, and then I do, and then it's super serious, and then maybe the time waiting for a fucking room made it 100 times worse. Still saying it's super unnecessary. And not only that, I feel like, I don't know, to have people and the nurses and that just come in and stab you with things. They don't give a shit. They're just doing their job. But there was no sense of caring. There was no sense of empathy. There was just, I felt like just a freaking cattle. I just felt like cattle. I didn't have any, I wasn't a human. I didn't have any feelings. I didn't have any emotions. And I didn't, that's how the whole thing made me feel. There was absolutely no time at any given time that I was made to feel like a real human and that I was heard. Especially when I said the nighttime stuff didn't work for me, and they made me take it anyway, and then they just made me more awake and wired. And then I'm like, you're telling me you know my body more than I do. Like, you're not even listening to me. And my inflammation markers should have said it all. When I went in there, when I left, they said my inflammation marker was at like 4, and when I got there, it was like 150. So like, but also, like, once you have drug addict on your record, they don't want to give you those kind of drugs or anything. But it's like, time and a freaking place. I don't care what the hell it was. Just, I even sit there relying on, even if I'm asleep for it, at least I don't have to sit here being in pain. But they wouldn't even give me that. So severe problems with our healthcare system, severe problems with being treated like less than a human when you do have something happen to you and you do have to go to the hospital. Nobody should be treated that way. And I really feel that I'm pursuing the patient, there's a patient relations part of the hospital about your experience there. So I'm pursuing that. I talked to the Aboriginal liaisons of the hospital, and I'm not letting it go. They told me not to let it go because maybe it's too late for me to how it has affected me, minus the trauma that I am carrying away from this experience. But I don't want this to happen to anybody else. If I can keep this from happening to somebody else, I got to at least try to do this for someone else's sake, because I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It was a horrible experience to go through, and it's also mentally the being treated less than a human being really messes with your head. It makes you feel like like your life doesn't even matter. Like, if you died right now, nobody would give a shit. There's just someone that comes along and get rid of the body and get it out of the way and get someone else in the room. That's how it makes you feel. And I feel like if you're in the healthcare system and you are giving that experience to people when you're working, you probably shouldn't be in the healthcare system. Once you lose your empathy for people and it's just a job, I think that's when experiences like this happen, and suddenly nobody cares, and but the morale goes down really quickly, and then you lose hope, and then you don't want to live, and then you lose your ambition to live. And that almost happened to me. I almost just wanted to give up because of the bad experience and how they were making me feel and how everything just kind of played out. And it's just like, I don't know. I still can't believe it happened. There's a part of me that still can't believe it happened, because it shouldn't have happened. It should have never happened, and it never should have happened the way it did. And I am fighting very much to make sure it doesn't happen to somebody else. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you have been in a similar situation, a similar experience, and it's raising your voices about these things that will affect change and hopefully keep it from happening to somebody else. But I do want to get the interactive with this channel in the future. Hopefully, like, I'll do a podcast or stuff where people can, I can be in contact with, like, people calling in or whatever kind of thing. I don't know how to do that just yet, but I'm working towards it. I want to get people involved. I want to get your voices listened or heard. I want to hear what you have to say, and I want to hear how those experiences have shaped you and the trauma that you've taken away from it, so we can, change the world together and, be part of bettering the place for future generations and future people, and never have to go through the things that we've gone through. So please message me, send comments in the comment box, and please let your voice be heard. And that's the only way we're really going to affect change. So that was the topic for today, and we'll see what people have to say. So have a wonderful day, and talk soon. Bye.